My dear Wormwood, the amateur suggestions in your last letter warn me that it is high time for me to write you fully on the painful subject of prayer. You might have spared the comment that my advice for his prayers for his mother proved singularly unfortunate. That is not the sort of thing a nephew should be writing to his uncle, nor a junior tempter to the secretary of the department. It also reveals an unpleasant desire to shift responsibility. You must learn to pay for your own blunders. The best thing, where it is possible, is to keep the patient from serious intention of praying altogether. When the patient is an adult recently reconverted to the enemy's party, like your man, it is best done by encouraging him to remember, or to think he remembers, the parrot-like nature of his prayers in childhood. In reaction against that, he may be persuaded to aim at something entirely spontaneous, inward, informal, and unregularized. And what this will actually mean to a beginner will be an effort to produce in himself a vaguely devotional mood in which real concentration and will and intelligence have no part. One of their poets, Coleridge, has recorded that he did not pray with moving lips and bended knees, but merely composed his spirit to love and indulged a sense of completion. That's exactly the sort of prayer we want. And hence, it bears a superficial resemblance to the prayer of silence, as practiced by those who are very far advanced in the enemy's service. Clever and lazy patients can be taken in by it for quite a long time. At the very least, they can be persuaded that the bodily position makes no difference in the prayers, for they constantly forget, and what you must always remember, that they are animals. And whatever their body does, whatever their bodies do, affects their souls. It's funny how mortals picture us as putting things into their minds. In reality, our best work is done by keeping things out. If this fails, you must fall back on the subtler misdirection of his intention. Whenever they are attending to the enemy himself, we are defeated. But there are ways of preventing them from doing so. The simplest is to turn their gaze away from him towards themselves. Keep them watching their own minds and trying to produce feelings, thereby the action of their own wills. When they meant to ask him for charity, let them instead start trying to manufacture charitable feelings for themselves and not notice that this is what they're doing. When they meant to pray for courage, let them really be trying to feel brave. When they say they are praying for forgiveness, let them be trying to feel forgiven. Teach them to estimate the value of each prayer by their success in producing the desired feeling, and never let them suspect how much success or failure of that kind depends on whether they feel ill, fresh, or tired at the moment. But of course, the enemy will not, meantime, be idle. Wherever there is prayer, there is danger of his own immediate action. He is cynically indifferent to the dignity of his position, and ours. As pure spirits and to human animals on their knees, he pours out self-knowledge in quite a shameless fashion. But if he defeats your first attempts at misdirection, we have a subtler weapon. The enemies do not start from the direct perception of him, which we unhappily cannot avoid. They have never known the ghastly luminosity and the stabbing, searing glare which makes the background of permanent pain to our lives. If you look at your patient's mind when he is praying, you will not find that. If you examine the object which he is attending, you will find that it is a complete object containing many quite ridiculous ingredients. There will be images derived from pictures of the enemy as he appeared during the discreditable episode known as the Incarnation. There will be a vaguer, perhaps more quiet, savage, and brutal images associated with the other two persons. There will be even some of his own reference and bodily sensations combined with it, objectified and attributed to the object. Revered. I have known these cases where that the patient calls his God was actually located up and to the left corner of the bedroom ceiling, or inside his own head, nor in a crucifix on the wall, but rather the nature of the composite object. You must keep him praying to it, to the thing that he thinks, to the thing that he has made, not to the person who has made him. You may even encourage him to attach great importance to the correction and the improvement of his composite subject, and to keeping it steadily before his imagination during the whole prayer, for it, if it ever comes to make the distinction, if ever he constantly desires his prayers, not to what I think thou art, but to what thou knowest thyself to be, our situation is for the moment desperate. Once all these thoughts and images have been flung aside, if retained with a full recognition of their merely subjective nature, and the man trusts himself to completely real, external, invisible presence there are with him in the room, and never knowable by him as he is known by it. While then it is the incalculable may occur. In avoiding this situation, the real nakedness of the soul in prayer, you will be helped by the fact that humans themselves do not desire it as much as they suppose. There is such a thing as getting more than you bargain for. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape. Here's the thing. I get a really cautious feeling when someone says they can feel the Spirit. Yes, it is possible to understand the Spirit is near and to feel what He is doing. But at the same time, feelings aren't always God. You can think, you can feel peace, you can feel patience, and like the book even mentioned, you can feel bravery, but at the same time, that's just you. You do want to keep your mind on God, and like this book also warned, on the true God, not the pictures that they have shown to you. Yes, pictures and video do work, but at the same time, remember, you're looking at a drawing or an actor. You're not really praying. You want to keep. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. You want to keep your prayers towards God and the heavenly places. You do want to be careful when you're trying to picture God, because, like the book warns, it is possible to make an idol out of what you think God looks like. But at the same time, God will show you how your prayers work if you are willing to listen. 90% of prayers is actually listening to what God says, and not so much praying, spending time talking. That's all I have for this time. I'll see you guys next time in the next chapter. Bye.